Hello, and thank you for exploring Lakehead International's videos. My name is Jordan, and I am the International New and Social Media Officer. I'm also the host of the Lakehead International Live series, a fun and informative way for you to connect with current international students, professors, and ask questions about admissions and everything Lakehead. You are about to watch a recording from one of our previous live sessions. If any questions arise throughout the video, please do not hesitate to comment below. If you would like to check out some of our upcoming live sessions, please head over to our website at lakeheadu.ca/international-live. Let's begin. I will pass it over to Alejandro, who is one of our student researchers from Peru.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jordan. Hello, everybody. So I'm Alejandro Vasquez. I'm originally from Lima, Peru. I transferred to Lakehead University in 2018. And I've basically been involved with two main research projects. The first one is involving human papillomavirus and its relationship with cancer. I did that one with Dr. Ingeborg Zebi, who's a cancer biologist here at Lakehead and a professor. And then the other one has been concerning prediction of mutants of SARS-CoV-2, or better known as COVID. And that's a project that I've been involved with Dr. Welly Floriano, another professor here, and she's now the coordinator of the bioinformatics program at Lakehead. And that's the project that's associated with the MyTex Research Award, which was a 2-month grant that we were lucky enough to gain access to last year that started us on that project. And yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And again, happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, Alejandro. I certainly have many questions myself to ask about the research you've been involved in, as well as sort of how it's integrated into your program. But before we dive into the panel itself, we'll pass it over to Christy, who is a student from Canada and Hong Kong.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christy. I'm a student in 4th year media, film, and communication. And basically, like, I have a lot of role, like, for example, like multicultural club. I'm one of the member in there, and like try to have like study abroad in Singapore before. And I did a internship in Rogers, and it was so much fun. And because we have a lot of opportunities to learn a lot of stuff and get hands-on learning as well, like being in the studio, like being part of the team while having a live show or like a hockey competitions, and become like a video photographer or something and more. And even we can become like a volunteer afterward as well. And for my final year project, like I made a research creation project and basically named as Free Mystic Apes. And it's about nonverbal communication in horror and thriller movies. And basically it's about like talk about how we understanding nonverbal communication, like emoji is one of them, or even like something more like a body structure or like acting skill, or even makeup or like props or like background music. So basically I talk about like, I try to analyze more in how nonverbal communication in films in this way. So if like anyone is really interested in like internship or like more about my research or something, I will be happy to answer for it. Yeah, and so happy to be here as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I'm certainly also excited to hear more about your final year project, the nonverbal communication in horror films. I know we've chatted briefly ourselves, and I know a bit more about your internship and volunteering at Rogers Canada, and I'm excited for the audience to learn more about some of the unique opportunities and some of your favorite experiences in that opportunity. And last but not least, I'll pass it over to Jonathan, who's a student from Mexico and currently in biotechnology at Lakehead University.
Thank you, Jordan. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jonathan Diaz. I'm from Mexico, and I am a biotechnology PhD candidate. I'm in my 3rd year, and I'm working under the supervision of Dr. Pedram Fatehi in the Green Processes Research Center. So we basically, we're working with the extraction of a biopolymer called lignin that is extracted from wood. And we use, in this case, we use wastes from the pulp and paper industry. We extract the lignin from there and we modify it, aimed with the application to use the lignin in the wastewater treatment to remove some chemicals or some toxic components that can be in those wastewaters. And basically we do that. I'm very happy to be here, happy to answer any of your questions and get ready for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for that. For those of you who don't know, in our Thunder Bay campus, one of the major industries within Northwestern Ontario is actually a pulp and paper industry, so forestry in general. And so, of course, having research that's focused on our local community and having that significant impact within our local community is to a great benefit, of course, but then also having an impact across the world, that this research could be implemented in any industry, essentially, with similar waste or in a similar process. And so I, again, will also be excited to hear more about your research, Jonathan, and ask you questions. And on that note, I guess we'll head into sort of our interview panel style of questions. In preparation for today's session, I did send over some questions to our audience members as well as to our panelists. Before I put everyone on the spot and I start asking 1,000,001 questions, I actually have some polls for our audience to participate in. And so I'll get that one started right now. We will launch the first poll, which is simply, what level of study are you pursuing or interested in? And so to our audience members, I'm curious to know whether you're interested in a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD degree. It will help us understand sort of who's joining us today on our session, but also it will influence maybe some of our responses as well. So it looks pretty equal between bachelor's and master's. So our undergrad and grad, good coverage. Right now we're tied evenly. So we have nearly half of the votes in. So I'll give everyone a few more minutes maybe to answer that, and then we'll dive into the questions. Awesome. So I will end the poll there. I'll launch the results so everyone else can see, but we just narrowly passed the mark there for master's or graduate, with 10 students voting master's and 9 for undergrad or bachelor's. Don't be discouraged, Jonathan. I know you're in your PhD. I know that many students who are in their bachelor's or in their master's are, of course, intending on continuing their studies all the way up to PhD. And so that's something, of course, to note, is that Lakehead University is a fully comprehensive university which offers all levels of study. And so whether you start in year 1 of your bachelor degree at an undergraduate level and you continue on, there's typically a pathway for you to wrap up potentially your master's and your PhD also at Lakehead University. And so with that being said, that's just our first poll. I'll have another poll in a few minutes, but we'll dive into the questions first. And so I'll kick things off with, maybe I'll kick one off to sort of start the journey to Lakehead, and I'll pass this one over to Jonathan to begin. Jonathan, I'm curious, what made you decide to come and complete your degree at Lakehead University?
Thank you, Jordan. That's a very good question that I think most of our viewers will be eager to know how everyone here got that path. So first of all, in my case for PhD, it's very important that you find a program which fits to your background. Most of the time, that's how it works. In my case, I'm a chemist, so I have a bachelor in chemistry, and my master is in biotechnology, food science and biotechnology. So the transition from my master to the PhD was fit in that scenario. And after that, very, very important, and probably most important than that, is find the right supervisor that has the same research interest that you have. That means exactly what are you going to work with, or what are you going to work on in the term of the thesis project. In my case, Dr. Pedro Fatehi has the research interest of working with wastes and byproducts to generate value-added products. And those two things were the most important things that made me decide for Lakehead University. And last but not least, the very important is Lakehead has an agreement with the Mexican Council of Science. With that agreement, that allows me to apply for a scholarship, and that was basically it.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. So we'll go in reverse how we just did our student researcher profiles. I'll ask Christy the same question. What helped you decide on Lakehead University and to complete your media, film, and communications degree?
Oh, this is a good question actually, because before I came here, I spent over 20 years in Hong Kong, and then I complete a college program in marketing and advertising. So I want to get in the field of film and TV industry. So I apply for Lakehead media, film and communication program. And also because Lakehead is a small campus basically, so you can basically know everyone in the know most of the people. Maybe you meet them in residence or meet them in cafeteria and school as well. So I think we got more chance and opportunities to work on the thing we like, and we have more chance to cooperate and and ask and even become friends with professor as well. So I think these opportunities are really unique compared to other school as well. So that's why I complete and finish the program here.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. That's something that we've recognized as an important aspect to our offerings at Lakehead is our small class sizes to begin. On our Thunder Bay campus, we actually we have a student to professor ratio of 15 students for one professor, and on our Aurelia campus it's slightly smaller with 13 students to one professor. And so having that small classroom environment is an important aspect to both our students' learning and an engagement level. So you're able to easily connect with your peers in the class, and you feel more comfortable approaching someone in a small classroom versus a massive lecture, of course. And then with that being said, you also have a more one-on-one time or a higher engagement level with your professor or whoever is teaching that course itself. And so last but not least, I'll ask Alejandro the same question, sort of, how did you decide on Lakehead University and what did that decision process look like for you?
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. So I actually originally did 3 years of dentistry or dental school before I realized that research was my true passion. And by the time I decided to look for a program in bioinformatics to transfer to, I had always known that I wanted to do, well, my original plan had been to study abroad. So I started looking at international universities, and I looked at Canadian universities because I had always heard that Canada, had a lot of opportunities for international students. And Lakehead was one of the few universities that offered a proper bioinformatics program, which, I had initially done a transition to a biology program, but I found it to not be sufficient in terms of computation experience. So the fact that Lakehead had an actual proper bioinformatics program that not many universities have was a real plus for me. And they made the whole application process really, really simple. They got in contact with me really fast, and I guess the rest is history.
Awesome. Well, it's very interesting to hear that you had recognized sort of that change in your paths halfway through your original dream of dentistry or dental school. But I'm happy to see that this is sort of the passion you've recognized, and you've been able to find a program that suits those needs and also is satisfying in terms of research and as you said, competition. I think that's a great segue actually into one of our first audience member questions. It says, what's the placement percentage for Honors Bachelor of Science in Computer Science? And so for our computer science program, there are cooperative education experience opportunities available. I don't know the percentage or the exact number off the top of my head, but I can share with you, of course, in 2019-2020 academic school year, 100% of all Lakehead University students were involved in experiential learning. And so with that being said, you are guaranteed, of course, that opportunity to have experiential learning within your program. if you choose to pursue the co-op option within computer science, there are a few additional steps in meeting the admission requirements into that, and of course satisfying other requirements. But we do have a dedicated career zone as well as cooperative education advisors who will assist you in that process in securing co-ops, whether it's at a company that we've worked with before and we have a established relationship and they typically offer an ongoing co-op, or if it's a new company you've learned about or you've seen a job opportunity at, we'll be happy to help you apply and hopefully secure that role as well. The second part of your question said, what are the possibilities of bachelor's students getting or after completion, getting PR after completion of graduation? And so one of the really unique aspects of our immigration plan here in Canada is that international students that attend post-secondary education at any institution in Canada, but Lakehead specifically also, they receive something called extra points towards their PR for completing their post-secondary here. And so by joining us in Canada, completing your post-secondary education at Lakehead University, you'll receive extra points in that application for your PR. Whether you intend on doing your PR application immediately following university or maybe a few years out, another great part to our immigration is that we also provide postgraduate work permits to our students. So depending on the length of your program, you can receive anywhere from, for example, 1 year postgrad work permit up to a 3-year postgrad work permit. For our undergrad students that do a 4-year program, typically they always receive the 3-year postgraduate work permit so they can be in Canada for up to 7 years. And then if they have a job, they can of course go to that next stage. If they're looking to apply for a PR, or they're looking to apply for a work permit, there's different pathways. On that note, it's also something I'm excited to share is that we do have our own in-house immigration advisor, Jennifer Hay, who assists all of our students. So whether you need to renew your study permit partway through your studies, or if you need to apply for a work permit so that you are qualified for your co-op, or potentially at the end of your degree, if you're looking to secure that postgraduate work permit or begin the PR application process, there's all of these different services that Jen is more than happy to support you in, and she's really great to work with, in my opinion. So another question we have is, how can Masters of Education students explore job opportunities through the placement? And so that's a really great question, actually. For students that aren't familiar with our education program, it's for students that actually want to become teachers themselves, whether it's a teacher in an elementary school, so a primary junior level, or in high school at the intermediate senior level. There's a lot of different pathways within our education program. But one of the great things is that our students actually get placements in local school boards and in local school settings so that they can apply their knowledge and apply their skills that they've learned in the courses itself and work with real students here in Canada and apply that knowledge to get guidance from a mentor, which is a full-time teacher. With that being said, of course, in that placement itself, you're making an impression to your teacher, to the principal, to the school board, and that is adding to your CV. And so you typically will have that advantage to then say, you know, I had the experience, this is the school board I've worked for. If you've made a good and positive impression with them, they'll certainly put in a good word or be a great reference when you go to apply for a full-time job after the fact. So that answers sort of our few audience questions thus far. I'm sure we're going to have plenty more roll in, but I'm going to flip back to some of our research focused questions. And the first one I'll ask, and I'll randomize it again. I'll start with Alejandro. It says, did you have any prior experience in research or in your particular field of study before beginning at Lakehead? So I know you prefaced that you were doing dentistry before, and I know in dentistry, I'm assuming that there would be some research aspects of it, but it's definitely more foundational and practical learning environment. So what would your opinion be on that? And what experience could you bring to Lakehead?
Yeah, so actually, I don't know if I made that clear in my previous question. Sorry about that. Right after I did finish my 3rd year of dentistry, I first transferred to biology, a biology major in the same university. So during that time, I was lucky enough to join the only lab in Peru that did bioinformatics, at least at the time. And I was part of the lab for about a year and a half. And over there is where I actually started my first exposure and experience with bioinformatics. I started with some just simple web-based tools, but through my participation in the lab, I also gained access to a 3-week workshop at the Pennsylvania State University in the US, which then turned into a 2-month internship. And that's where I started, really first getting to the programming part of bioinformatics. And that's actually where I decided that I wanted to pursue a proper bioinformatics program.
Awesome. So obviously you definitely did have some research skills and knowledge that you brought to Lakehead, which I'm assuming were probably a great benefit to both your application for the MyTax Research Award, but also maybe gave you a leg up in being able to hit the ground running within the bioinformatics program. So that's definitely exciting to hear that you've been involved in it for some time, and I'm glad to see that it's been able to expand at Lakehead and you've been able to do even more with that degree. I'll ask the same question to Jonathan. I know that you already prefaced sort of what you did in your undergrad and then your master's. And so if you wouldn't mind walking us through that journey and maybe tying into how you're able to align your past research and then sort of identify what you're doing now as a passion area.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, I'm a chemist and my background is in chemistry. And when I passed from chemistry to my master, the master is Master of Science and is more focused in the use of biopolymers. So as well, in my master, I use biopolymers from a different source, in this case, from food, from fruits, from apples, that is called pectin. Anyways, so basically, the use of biopolymers in the research in the material science, I will say, or biotechnology, they are the same no matter, or they're basically the same no matter which polymer are you using. In this case, you can use, for example, starch, that is a more common biopolymer that you may hear from a kitchen or from cuisine. So you can use starch, pectin, chitin, and other biopolymers, and you have also lignin. So the difference here is the source. In this case, lignin came from wood, starch came from potatoes, for example, or the one that I used in my master came from apple. But at the end, what you want to do is modify those biopolymers and make it more usable, or making a better or different materials. For example, if you want to use it in bioplastics, or you want to use it in bioremediation as I'm using it. So it depends. And that transition, of course, when you study this biopolymer, you have to study them in like a pool. You start to study them like a pool, then you know each of them, and then you are narrowing until the one that you are basically using it. So I think that experience helped me a lot, at least to know which project I wanna follow in my PhD. Of course, once you enter the PhD, it's a completely different story because it's more deep. You have to go deeper and deeper in the knowledge and in the field. But it was basically that. I don't know if I answer the question.
And no, I think you answered that great. As a graduate of business at Lakehead University, science is not necessarily one of my strong suits, that's for sure. But I appreciate that you were able to go into depth and explain it also at the high level. So I was able to understand it. I appreciate that, of course. Next, I'll pass it over to Christy. Of course, Christy, you mentioned that you completed a college diploma before in advertising. And so I'm interested and intrigued to know how that may have influenced your decision, or maybe those passions influenced your decision to want to study that media, film, and communications.
Thanks for the question. First, actually, after finishing the marketing and advertising and then public relation, I feel like I wasn't the person like really want to do like press release or like being to handle all event or something. I want to be like the production part, like being the team of them and the back. So basically, I feel like, oh, maybe I should be someone in this TV studio or maybe in the film industry, like for producing the whole show or movies. So really, this makes me to think of, oh, maybe I should apply for the media program instead of like continue to work on as a PR or something.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. So you obviously had the experience of being in front of the camera as that PR relations and as well as advertising and planning that out. But then in doing that, that helped you recognize sort of your passion actually lied behind the camera, as you said, in the producing aspects. And so I know that will be a great segue into some of our questions about your internship and hearing about those experiences. And so I'll keep you there, and I'm going to ask you, how did you get involved in the internship? So could you maybe walk us through within the program itself? Is it a requirement? Did professors help you secure the job? And then what was that process like?
Although it's a required course for us like to graduate, but basically we can apply. For example, if I'm really interested on working on getting some hands-on experience, we can apply for internship as a course. And then basically we have a length of choices. For example, like we can work in the food bank or like in the because our course is in Aurelia, so we can work in the museum or like the theater and more choices. And the one is really catch me is like Rogers. So I apply for Rogers. Basically, I just send my resume and basically, and we had a meeting, and then yeah, they said, oh yeah, you can join as like as a team right now, and then I join it. And basically, we have some training with other volunteer as well, and basically like tell us like what we can hands-on, like how we can get on like get involved as a team. And maybe some of them say, oh, maybe I'm not touching that one, is electricity or something. Yeah, so basically that.
Awesome. And so just to clarify, you said that it was a part of the course structure itself. And doing an internship actually counted towards a credit within your program. Was that in your second or third year?
It is a third year course, but we can do it either in third year or fourth year. So it's more, they kind of suggest us to have more knowledge first and more confident, I guess, to be involved as a team. But basically we can apply it as a volunteer at any time if people like really are patient and passionate about it. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and that's something we always recommend as advisors for students that are looking for, you know, that leg up, whether it's in the career market or whether they're applying to the next stage of their education. We always encourage them to do experiential learning and do extracurricular opportunities, which will add to their knowledge base, but also their experience within that field. So I'm just looking through the questions. I'll pass this one over to Alejandro. Maybe Alejandro, you can speak to the COVID research that you've been doing for the past year now. And could you sort of walk us through what a typical day in the lab, although of course, because of COVID, we've been working remotely at home for a vast majority of the time. Can you walk us through what that looks like and how many people are on the research team? What sort of equipment you're working with on a regular basis?
Yeah, so for the COVID project, it's mostly just one-on-one with Dr. Floriano. I'm mostly just working with her. And again, yeah, I work remotely, though I have access to certain tools. For example, I have access to a remote machine in her lab. So it's a physical machine that I can connect remotely to, and to perform some simulations and using some programs there. And I also have access to the university cluster, which is just when I want to do things that require a lot of computational power. With my other lab, the one that I'm a part of with Dr. Ingeborg Sevi, that is located in the Thunder Bay Regional Sciences Health Center. And when I started there were about 5 people in total. There was a postdoc student, a PhD student, a master's student, and another undergraduate student other than myself. And now there's about 6 people in total, I think, and it's changed around a little bit, but yeah, that's the kind of environment that you will find yourself in a research lab, and a university research lab. And as a bioinformatician, I'm mostly just in the dry lab part of things, so mostly just with computers. But you are sometimes expected to help with certain lab duties, such as cleaning and maintaining equipment and other things like that.
For sure. And so I'm happy to hear that one of your labs is actually technically on an external part of our campus. And so although we are connected to the hospital very significantly as an institution, many of our programs do placements or practicums within the hospital. It's actually across the street for us here in Thunder Bay. But then we also have many researchers that are both doing research with Lakehead University as well as other boards. And so it's great to hear that you have that experience, and now you'll have that leg up of being able to also say that you've worked within that hospital environment. For students that are looking to pursue an education in the medical field or medicine in general, having that research or having that experience in a hospital also adds to their degree and adds to what they bring to their medical application. Christy, I'm curious, of course, when you're working at Rogers Canada in your internship and in volunteering, I know that you had told me about sort of the different things that you're involved in. So whether it was producing, directing, actually filming it yourself, or hosting an interview, could you answer some of those same questions, and how many people you typically worked with and what equipment you got to use?
Basically, we have two teams, like the studio team and the one like we go with the live show outside, like with the truck. And basically in studio, we have a smaller team, like around 4 or 5 people. And in the truck, I guess like 3 cameras and like the directors, 1 engineer. I think it's 6 to 8 people, like sometimes 10 people and more. And depends on how big is the live show or something. And I had a lot of experience, like I'm really glad that I have that opportunity to work with the team. Like for example, like the truck, we have the live show, and then I can like experience with the audio section, like the one who control the sound wave. Like if the mic is too loud, I need to lower it down, or like I need to fade in the music and like fade out the music. And we had like for example, like the center parade, I was the audio person, and then like some live talk show, and even the one in for president voting, I think is some kind of related event. We went out for a live show, and then I was a graphic person, like the one who putting some name tape or something. And even the one, for example, like the graphic person is the one who helped like the hockey game, like when there's a march or like some more technical things going out or like replay, is the one who put it there. And as a volunteer, we had a chance to become like a director as well, because we have a small section for in like volunteer show, and then we can like basically produce what we want to film, and we can direct, like because other volunteers are going to help us. So basically we're filming all together and directing at the same time. Yeah, basically we had a lot of fun of like in touch with some couple shows and couple like volunteer story as well, like for the commercial as well, or like even some kind of some kind of other shows that involved it. And even I become like I help for production part as well, like some editing part. And yeah, there's a lot of things we can get touch with that one.
Certainly, it sounds like you had a well-rounded experience in having your hands in multiple different pots, essentially, and multiple different tasks. So you got a well-rounded experience, whether it was directing, producing, editing, audio, visual, graphics, that sort of stuff. It's really great to see that you also got to taste all of those areas. So now when you are ready to move into the career field, you'll essentially be able to narrow down and recognize sort of maybe where your passions lie today, acknowledging also that that could evolve. I mean, just like in your own program, in your own recognition that advertising and PR maybe wasn't the path that you had intended on going down at the end of the day. Of course, now that you're wrapping up this degree, you'll probably move into the career field and you could analyze and change that path in that industry. So I'm just going through some more questions here. I see some questions from an audience member, so I'll pass it over to Patrick to answer a general question about students who are interested in Masters of Education program.
Thanks, Jordan, for that. For letting me answer this question. It's about if a student who takes the MEd is eligible to be a teacher in Canada. So teacher education in Canada is actually regulated by the provinces across Canada. So as a profession, each province has what's called a College of Teachers, a governing body, and you have to register with that province. Now, I'm not familiar with all of the province's different regulations and what makes you eligible or not eligible to teach in that particular province, but here in Ontario, to teach in Ontario, you do have to take a 2-year professional teaching course, and it's actually at Lakehead. That program would be our consecutive education program. So that's a educational program that involves classroom learning as well as a number of practicum placements that are required to be eligible to apply to be certified to be a teacher in this province. The Masters of Education does not, I don't believe, meets those, I don't think it meets those requirements. Masters of Education is research and into the field of education, into the study of education, and there are a number of projects and thesis or course-based options within the Masters of Arts in Education. But if your goal is to be a teacher at either the elementary or secondary school level, I would recommend looking at the consecutive 2-year BEd, Bachelor's of Education.
Awesome, thank you so much, Patrick. So another question we have is from a student who is involved in research actually in wastewater treatment over the past 4 years. They've now applied for a master's through coursework at Lakehead, and they're awaiting their offer. Their question is there any possibility for me to join the research projects if I get the offer? So absolutely. There's countless number of research opportunities across campus that, of course, professors and faculty members are always looking for student assistance with. So whether it's a paid placement actually within the research, or there's a part-time role within that, or if it's out of your extracurricular and volunteer experience, I speak for many professors when they say they're always happy to welcome students onto the team to assist in whether it's creating some of the analytics, collecting some of the data, performing some of those experiments. If your question specifically about wastewater treatment is with regards to Jonathan's experience in that similar field of study, it would be, depending, it sounds like because you're going into a master's, obviously I can't guarantee that you would be on a similar research project or in that research project, but Jonathan is actually a part of something called the Green Processes Research Center, which has a variety of students. So whether you're an undergrad, a master's, or a PhD, there's plenty of opportunities within that research center on campus. And so I certainly recommend that once you're able to join us here at Lakehead University, start connecting with professors and faculty members and researchers that you align interests with, or that you have passions in that area to study with, and offer your assistance, but also ask for maybe a tour of the facilities, ask to sit down and have a conversation with them and learn more about their research. They're typically more than welcoming and happy to share their experience and chat with you a bit more, so you have a well-rounded introduction to Lakehead University. So another question I have, and I'll pass this one first to Jonathan. Just out of curiosity, what has been your biggest takeaway from your research so far?
Well, that's a huge question.
It It is.
I will say like we were able to extract lignin, a kind of lignin. This means a kind of biopolymer from the industrial wastes from the local mill. So we work alongside the local mill, and they provide us with some waste that they produce, and we managed to extract that compound, the lignin, out of that waste. And I could say this is, if not the first, or at least the first, as far as we know, that is full characterized. So I think that could be one of the biggest achievements so far of the thesis project. And especially because we're using some local wastes, and we are helping local industry to improve their processes to make a better, greener processes, to reuse the materials, to recycle the materials. So I think I will say that.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear that achievement. I'm curious, in that process, by removing or as you said, characterizing that biopolymer, how does that help maybe private industries or the pulp and paper industry on their environmental impact? What is that what does it remove essentially, or add that stopper in?
Yeah, so let's say nowadays what they do with these waste is they just burn the waste. So instead of using it for other things, they just burn the waste. So instead of burning, if we can extract something that we can add value to it, let's say this biopolymer, we extract the biopolymer and then we modify it and we sell it in a more complex and more valuable material. Instead of just burning the waste, they can actually profit the waste, get something out of the waste instead of just burning it and create more contamination, or simply just burn it and get rid of it. So this is the final aim, to instead of just underusing the material, give the material a value, an added value by modifications, by making it better, and then the final use will be also good for, let's say, the environment of other industries, as, I don't know, rubber industry or plastic industry. Yeah.
Awesome. So obviously extending that life cycle is both has an environmental impact, but also to private industries that are investing in some of these research projects. It also has a profitable aspect too, and being able to upcycle their waste and be able to reuse it potentially, or as you said, potentially sell it to another industry to look into how they might utilize that. So I have the same question for Alejandro and Christy. We'll start off with Alejandro. What has been your biggest takeaway thus far in either your research for COVID-19 or your research with the other professor at the hospital?
Yeah, so I agree with Jonathan that that's a tough question to answer. I would say that for the human papillomavirus and cancer research, so basically what we've done is we've analyzed about 240 clinical samples from patients that are from cancer patients, and this is all found in an online database called the Cancer Genome Atlas database, which our lab has access to because it's technically protected by the US government, but our lab gained access to it. And we, using bioinformatics methods, we've actually been able to identify a number of patterns when it comes to the way in which the HPV virus integrates its own DNA into the host genome DNA. And we suspect that that has to do with why different types of human papillomavirus have different carcinogenic risks. So some are more likely to cause cancer than others. And our research has been, quite promising in that regard. We already have a preprint up in a website called bioRxiv. I can send a link to anyone who's interested, and we're hoping to get that peer reviewed in about a couple months. And for the COVID work, we only just started about in September last year around. So I mean, research takes it's not a 3-month affair. So It takes time, but it's definitely going well, and we've made quite a bit of progress. And yeah, we're definitely, you know, I'm definitely looking forward to working with this for the next few months, and hopefully we'll have a preprint as well up before the end of the year.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear, of course, that I think you said it beautifully yourself, in that research is not something that's conducted necessarily in 3 months' time. It's an ongoing process. And so where you end off in that research, whether you graduate from Lakehead or you move on to a different research project, someone else will be able to pick up where you left off, essentially. And I think what we're recognizing, and what researchers around the world and scientists around the world are recognizing, is that the mutants and the evolution of COVID itself is going to be something that we have to recognize, and we have to do more research into, and it will be an ongoing process. And so hearing that you're going to be helping the future mutants and future variations of this to also help other researchers and scientists do the important work that's necessary to fight that is great to hear. So I'll pass the same question over to Christy, and I'm curious whether it's your final research project or whether it was your internship with Rogers Canada, what has been your biggest takeaway or maybe learning experience in that effort?
Basically, the thing I learned in internship, maybe I will go with the internship first. The internship taught me a lot of technical skills, like how to use the camera, like how to direct, or like how to even communicate with the team members. And basically, I apply most of the skill in my final year project, and I create the research creation project in the topic of nonverbal communication in thriller and horror movies. And basically, my project is like based on interviewing participants on while showing like 10 clips on like film, like horror film. And basically, the film maybe is audio only or like video without subtitles, because I find like international movies, not just like Hollywood or like not just Asian movies. And they need to choose the best emoji out of 10 of them that represent their feelings. And basically, the result is kind of interesting, because most of them, they don't even realize they're like watching the foreign movie without subtitles, while they basically can understand everything. And but like the emoji stuff will be more interesting, because like they think like although I put up like 2 chances for them, like one with meaning, one without like definition for the emoji, they will more go for like, oh, I will go for the emoji itself, like although I'm not the emoji like maybe LOL, like, but I feel I'm crying with tears, so I will go for that one. So it's basically, it's more they believe what they believe, actually. And what I can take away is more like the research itself is I just like what the other two said, is I kind of like breaking I kind of cannot finishing everything there. So I was hoping to do like the whole FIP is basically with like 10 episode, like a YouTube video reaction, but like end up with 3 episode only. So I guess yeah, it's one thing that if I can continue to pick it up, but like yeah, everything that I can learn and from both the internship and FIP is basically keep on working on it, and like keep learning until we die or something.
Yeah, awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And of course, non-traditionally in research, you recognize that there's that evolution or that continued effort, but even within the industries of film and media itself, it's an ever evolving industry. I mean, anyone can recognize that. And hearing that you were able to also bring in that collection of international films on top of the majorly popular Hollywood films was an important aspect of it, of course, too. So I have another poll for our audience members. This one, though, is actually about experiential learning. And so the question is, which of the following experiential learning opportunities are you looking forward to? So it is multiple choice. So I would love to see sort of with our audience members, what are you looking forward to doing when you join us here at Lakehead University? Do you want to be involved in community engagement? Would you like to participate in cooperative education, internships, practicums, placements, and field experiences, or research itself? And so, like I said, it's multiple choice. You could select all 5 if you wish. If you're not sure, that's totally okay too. There's a lot of different pathways, and you might not know quite yet what pathway is going to be built into your program or what might be accessible as an extracurricular. So I'll give it maybe another 20 seconds or so for our audience members to vote on that, and then we'll all look at the results and see sort of where everyone's passions lie. In preparation for the next question, the final question of today's session, and I'll ask all 3 of you this. The question is going to be, how has studying or doing research at Lakehead helped you prepare for the future? And what are your future plans? So I think that might be another tough question, might stump you, and that's totally okay. So first, before we answer that, I'll end the poll and I'll launch the results. So it looks like internships and practicums, placements, and field experiences won out. So those are typically the aspects that are built into many of our academic programs. Of course, community engagement, research, and cooperative education still strong with their votes. And so I'm happy to hear that there's a wide variety of the different opportunities that you might want to be involved in. I encourage you, once you are able to secure your offer to Lakehead University and then you join us and you're interested in participating in any of these opportunities, connect with your chair of your program, connect with some of our academic advisors, some of our international student advisors, or potentially even connect with fellow peers and students in the program to see how you can get involved. So with that being said, once again, I'll ask our final question. We'll bring it back to that very first order with Alejandro, Christy, and then Jonathan to follow up. Based on the research that you've done, how has it helped you prepare for the research or for the future, pardon me, and what do your plans look like essentially? So Alejandro, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, so actually I would say that, the experience that I have gained from, this working on both of these research projects here at Lakehead has been truly invaluable. I've actually been lucky enough to be admitted to the PhD program in bioinformatics and genomics at the Pennsylvania State University, where I'll be starting this August. So that's my current plan for the future. And I definitely could not have done it without my experience here at Lakehead. I think Lakehead has been crucial in that, not only, in allowing me to become the person that I am today, but also through these experiences, the recommendation letters that I submitted with my application were from my professors here. And, being able to say that I had actually, hands-on research experience was crucial, I think. And for anyone going to, following a graduate program after graduation, in research, I think that's extremely important to be able to say that as an undergrad, you've actually sought out research opportunities and, conducted research. I think that there's so many opportunities here at Lakehead. Being a relatively small university, I would say that all that really means is that there's less competition for all the opportunities that are here. And, if you're really smart about it, you can gain a lot more than you otherwise would have. And I see no reason why an undergraduate student couldn't, graduate with 1 or even 2 publications to their name by the time. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your acceptance to the other school. I'm very excited to see that journey, and I'm sure we'll connect with you and follow up with you in the years to come to see the impact you have on the research at their institution as well. So I'll pass it over to Christy to answer the same question. How has Lakehead prepared you for the future, and what does that future entail for you?
For me, although I'm not planning to continue my studying, but like after having the research project and internship, the opportunity of doing the internship, it's really skill me up. Like I know a lot of like I had some hand-on experience on like the equipment, like in the studio, and uh, even like the school actually give us opportunity to work as a TV's member, like what that can be experience of like real film shooting as well. So I feel like it's difficult to have like this kind of experience. Uh, like it's so hard to have experience on like really go deep into the industry itself. And for my plan right now, after completing, I guess I'm going to apply for the job in the TV industry, like in Hong Kong right now. And maybe I'm going to have like a master or apply for a master later afterwards, after like a few years ago. And yeah, that was my plan.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting to hear that you'll be joining the job market sooner than later, and then you might follow up with a master's degree to couple that work experience in your undergrad to advance your career, of course. So last but not least, I'll pass over to Jonathan with the same question. How has Lakehead prepared you for the future, and what does that future entail for you?
Thank you, Jordan. Well, it certainly have helped me a lot. As a PhD student, you all the time, every day, you are learning so much. You are involved in so many things. And Lakehead, for example, by giving me the chance of being part of the teaching assistant program, that means I can be accompanying another professor during their course, kind of, I don't know, helping to do the marking of the lab or helping to conduct some tutorials to undergrad students. That has helped me a lot to develop my own teaching skills, my own teaching style as well. So that part has been very, very helpful for me. This will be my third year doing that. And all of the PhD students, and I think all of the master, I'm not sure about master, but all of the PhD students have the opportunity to do that, because as Alejandro said, the chances are more if the school is smaller, you don't have that many competition, and the opportunities are basically for everyone. So by doing that, as I said, I gained so much experience in developing my own teaching skill. And regarding to that is important to me because in my future, I want to be involved in academia. I want to be a professor in the university, well-recognized university, maybe Lakehead, who knows. And then having my own research projects, right? Leading my own research projects, leading my own group, my own research group. I think that will be my plan for the future. And certainly Lakehead has helped me a lot in the process of learning and in the process to step up a little bit to finalize that aim.
Awesome. Well, I'm certainly excited to hear that you'll be sticking within academia, hopefully. And it sounds like we have a well-rounded group here. We have a future researcher, a future film or TV producer, and a future professor. And so I'm really excited to hear about these journeys, follow your journey myself over the coming years, and see where you go with that. With that being said, that does conclude today's session and bring us towards the end. Before I let everyone go, I want to remind our viewers, our audience members, I want to thank you first of all for joining us, but I want to encourage you to follow us and stay connected. So you can find us at Lakehead International on both Facebook and Instagram. You can find our YouTube channel at just Lakehead University. We have a few playlists dedicated to our international students, so you can check those out, Lakehead International, as well as Lakehead International Live, where all of our webinars that we record are published for on-demand viewing after the fact. And last but not least, our 3 students, of course, have had the opportunity over the past few years to explore our campuses, explore our hometowns. But as a future student, as an incoming student, I know you haven't been able to join us here in Canada quite yet. And so I encourage you to take a virtual campus tour at lakeheadu.ca/tours. And you can explore the Aurelia campus, the Thunder Bay campus, our facilities, our residences, the surrounding nature and beauty that we get to call home, all that sort of thing. And with that being said, I want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our behind the scenes folks that have been helping cover today's session. And once again, I hope to see you again at a future session. All right, bye for now, everyone. Thank you for checking out today's video. If you have any questions, you can always comment below. Stay connected and follow us on our social media channels to stay informed about upcoming webinars and get an insider sneak peek of Lakehead University. See you next time.